Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Teresa Holmes, Club President. Today's meeting is sponsored by Casey Oakers and Elaine Michler and the Madison Symphony Orchestra. And our thanks to them for sponsoring today's luncheon. Let's direct our attention to opening music. Dick Lovell, who is very ready, will be leading us in the singing of God Bless America with Casey Oakers on the keyboard. And then Dick will also then lead us in the singing of I Can See Clearly Now. Following the music, our guest will be introduced by Oscar Morales.
God bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Now, those of you from the 70s are going to need your help on some of the rhythm on this. So here we go into Johnny Nash, and I Can See Clearly Now. Yeah, let's do it. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that made me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now. The pain is gone. What a help. All right. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. Boom, 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 boom. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, 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 sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Who can master that? Thank you, Dick. And now our guest will be introduced by Oscar Morales.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. We have some special guests. First of all, we have Ed Puta from visiting Rotarian from Honolulu, Hawaii. And Ed's been joining us, I think he deserves a big round of applause. Hey, you can stand up, you stay standing. And then we have a friend of Regina Milner. We have Carolyn Cowell. And I think I said her name right? Cowell, like Kakana. And then finally we have Dr. Richard McGregory here as a guest of Dr. Carlton Jenkins. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you, guests, for being here today. I guess they didn't tell you that we sing here. Now you know. Dawn Krim is president of our Madison Rotary Foundation this year, and she will now come to the podium for an announcement.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as Teresa shared, I am Dawn Krim, the president of our club's associated Madison Rotary Foundation. As provided in our foundation bylaws, today we hold our annual meeting of our Madison Rotary Foundation. We announced the names of 3 new trustee nominees for our foundation. In a minute, I will call for the election of these 3 new trustees. But first, I'd like to introduce the members who currently serve on the Madison Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees with me. And if you are in attendance today, will you please stand when I call your name? Brian Baskin, Doug Dittman, Mike Gosler, Mark Green, Jenny Jeffress, Joe Lenas, Oscar Morales, Sandy Morales, Linda O'Hearn, Valerie Rank, Jeff Tews, Charles Tubbs, and Martha Vuklik Austin. If we can give them a round of applause. In addition, 2 immediate past club presidents automatically serve a 2-year term on the trustees, and they are Andrea Kaminsky and George Hidalgo, serving this year. Joe McNeil serves as our treasurer, and Dave Dockow as assistant treasurer, and of course our very own Pat Jenkins serves as secretary. Our thanks to these trustees and officers for their service this year. We'll now move to calling the annual meeting of the Madison Rotary Foundation to order. The purpose of today's meeting is to call for the election of 3 new trustees. The nominees will be announced, have been announced previously at club meetings and have been printed in our newsletter. They are Willie Larkin, Anita Muhammad, and Alex Izquierdo. While we would normally have a voice vote, we still do not have a membership quorum in attendance at our meetings. Therefore, our Rotary office has sent an email with a link to an electronic ballot for today's vote of the 3 new trustees. So watch for that in your email this afternoon. And President Teresa Holmes will also begin a 2-year term, and we are looking forward to have her service on the Board of Trustees starting July 1st. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dawn. And as Dawn said, members, you should be receiving an email today with a link to the electronic ballot that is due tomorrow by noon. In my Did You Know segment today, I would like to call attention to how easy it really is to invite a potential member to lunch. Did you know that when you complete the registration form that you receive to attend our meeting, you can also add a guest to attend the lunch with you. Now that we're back in person for our meetings, I'd like to encourage you to think of someone in your office, a friend or a neighbor, a colleague from another organization you may serve in, who may be someone you'd like to invite to our luncheons. They would love to know and see how we connect, grow, and serve. Remember, the number one reason that people have noted that they're not a Rotarian is no one ever asked them to join. Thank you. Dee Fleary Simmons, who is a member of our Youth Awards subcommittee, will come now and introduce some very special guests that we have with us today.
Thank you, President Teresa. As I was introduced, I'm Don Danita Fleary Simmons, and I'm a new member of Rotary and of our club's Youth Awards Committee. And I wasn't finished chewing. I'm pleased to have been selected to welcome some very special guests to today's meeting. We want to welcome our 2022 Top 10 Spellers and their proud families and guests. This club's tradition of honoring the top 10 spellers in the All-City Spelling Bee dates back more than 50 years. This annual spelling bee is sponsored by the Wisconsin State Journal. The organizer of this year's spelling bee was Kirsten Adsheed. I knew I was going to get it wrong. Kirsten, could you please stand and be recognized? We'd like to thank you for all of your work behind the scenes in organizing this year's event. This year's All-City Spelling Bee was held on February 19th at Madison College, and it was the first in-person spelling bee in 2 years due to the pandemic. 33 top spellers from public, private, and homeschool associations in Madison participated. Students were asked to spell words like Larkspur, Confucianism, quatrains, Halifax, and Wunderkind, a word that represents this brilliant group of young people. These students should all be very proud of their achievements and for their excellent spelling abilities. I feel like I'm pooping at you guys. Spellers, as I call your name, as I try to get it correct, I ask you to come forward and stand in the stage area. President Teresa will greet you and will provide you with a small congratulatory gift, and the 3 top spellers will then also receive plaques. As the speller comes, we'd ask the parent or guests to also please stand so that we can recognize you and your hard work in bringing this to fruition. And then you can be seated as I call the next name. Rotarians, here are your top 10 spellers for 2022. Ella Booling, come forward, please. Tyler Dretsky. Sativ Gadi. Jay Jihad. Is Jay here? Not seeing him. Thank you. Mark Kasbaum. Claire Pay. And these are 6 of the top 10 spellers. Finally, I'll introduce the final 3 finalists. 3rd place this year went to 5th grader Shabd Gulati. Vincent Bautista from the Edgewood School was the runner-up for the 3rd year, and comes from a family of top spellers. And my most challenging name, and the one that I think is the one, maybe his reason, his advantage for winning a spelling bee, because I think it's 15 letters. Mine has 11, and I think, people said, how did you learn to spell that? Well, those good spelling skills are paying off for our 6th grader, Aiden Vijela Kulasuria. Okay. And the last name for Emma? Thank you. And we have one more, Emma Kadarza. The winning words this year were effete and agate. And we appreciate the fact that Aiden was able to spell those at 6th grade. So let's give an outstanding Rotarian round of applause to all of these young people and their achievements. Thank you. Good luck at the State Spelling Bee, and you all may be seated.
Thank you, Dee. It was our Youth Awards segment that actually sold me as well when I was a proposed member and I came to a Youth Scholarship Awards luncheon. All right, governance. I have an announcement on governance. Over the past several weeks, we've been giving you an opportunity to hear from our club's 5 team leaders who are overseeing the groups of committees as part of our new committee structure. We've also had a task force, the governance task force, that's been working on enhancements to our club's governing documents, and they have been putting in a lot of time meeting regularly since last fall. So this past Monday, just a few days ago, our board met to hear the final report and recommendations from this task force. The group is now working on recommended edits to our club bylaws, which will then come before the membership for a vote. We have a number of volunteers who've been putting in, as I said, a lot of time and effort, making changes to improve overall governance for our club, and I'll be sharing some details about that more in the weeks ahead as we bring this before the membership for a vote finally in May. If you are a member of the current governance task force, would you please stand? And you're in the room. And if you were a member of the previous year, last year's governance task force, and you're in the room, would you please stand? Yes. And Lynn Sexton is actually our chair of governance. I serve on that committee as well. And so Rotarians, let's give them a warm thanks for their service. All right, my favorite part other than the program, birthdays. We have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor and wisdom that complements our Rotary mission. We also encourage our members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, rounded up to $100 for our club's Synergy Scholarship Fund. Rotarians, if you're in the room when I call your name, please stand. March 10th, Jessica Kasten. March 10th, Kathy Koritzinski, who shares a quote from Byron Pulsifer: "A birthday is not a day to fear. It's a day to celebrate and look forward to the coming year." March 11th, Valerie Casamesis. I think I got that wrong, didn't I? Did anybody tell you, or did you know that the president often makes mistakes with the names? And those bloopers are tallied at the end of the year. Am I right? March 11th, Barb Wiley. March 12th, Sarah Detienne. March 12th, Kelly Rupo, who just joined our club last week. Thanks to our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. Please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, I have a few Rotarians who are in the Members in the News segment today. But before I mention them, I would like to let members know that our club member Bob Westerfeld's wife Lucille passed away on February 28th. Their son Bruce is also a member of our club, and we extend our condolences to Bob and Bruce and their family. Members in the news: Jessica Cavazos and Oscar Morales were pictured and quoted in an article titled "Local Performers Make Play Unique Every Time," Wisconsin State Journal, March 6th. Jason Fields was quoted in an article titled "Business and Education Toward a Virtual Reality, Growing the Metaverse," Wisconsin State Journal, March 6th. Emily Grunwald was pictured and quoted in Business Magazine's column, "Icebreakers. If you could eliminate one thing from your daily routine, what would it be? It would be a meeting for me." March 22nd. She also was quoted in an article titled "Business Meetings Go Hybrid" in Business Magazine, March 22nd. It's coming. Congratulations to Darren Harris's daughter, Alexa, who's a senior at West High School, who won 3rd place all around at the state gymnastics meet for Division I. Our own Dr. Carlton Jenkins, Renee Moe, and Bob Sorge were listed as panelists in an article on the United Way of Dane County's Centennial Celebration, which was recently held on March 3rd. Renee was also quoted in an article for the Wisconsin State Journal, March 4th. And Joel McNeil was featured in Business Magazine's column, Reader Recommended. It's coming on March 22nd. All right, and now on to today's program. Our speaker today is Arjun Sanga. I got it right. Who is the president of WiSys, a nonprofit organization that works with faculty, staff, students, and alumni of the UW system to facilitate cutting-edge research programs, develop and commercialize discoveries, and foster a spirit of innovative and entrepreneurial thinking across our state. Arjun is an expert foster and technology transfer, intellectual property management, and commercialization. He has more than 20 years of experience leading research collaborations, managing intellectual property, closing licensing deals, and fostering startup companies. Arjun has spearheaded major deals and sought to balance the needs of different stakeholders, including faculty, state, government, and industry and investors. Today, he is going to tell us about the UW system's Posters in the Rotunda, that program which is actually going on today over at the State Capitol building. We look forward to your presentation, Arjun, and we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way of saying thank you for speaking to us today. After he makes his way to the podium, I would like to remind you that our program chair, Regina Milner, who's in the room, will be leading a group of interested guests and Rotarians over to the Capitol Rotunda after the presentation. The event lasts until 2 p.m. today. Remember as well, Q&A at the end. If you have a question, please ask your question and wait for the microphone to be presented to you. Rotarians and guests, let's welcome Arjun Sanga to our podium.
Thank you so much, President Teresa. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here to speak to your club today. I must say this is probably the most joyful meeting I've been to, with singing and laughter. So it's just terrific to hear after all of the challenges that we've had through the pandemic. And I want to congratulate our students, student spelling bee winners. It's just terrific. My son participated in that when he was in junior high, and I know how challenging how much work goes into that, and for the students and also for the parents. So congratulations on that. As a side note, I'm a fan, and I do the New York Times spelling bee every day. So, and of course, thanks to Regina Milner. Thank you for inviting me to this. Regina's, as you all know, is a past president of the Board of Regents for the University of Wisconsin system. And this is the crown jewel of higher education in the United States. And we really appreciate your leadership and commitment to keeping that crown jewel working for Wisconsinites. So thank you for that. So what we came to talk about is this showcase of undergraduate research. And, you know, I was asked by President Teresa if you wanted to take away one thing from this talk, I would say that there's excellence all across the state of Wisconsin, that we have students in every one of our schools across Wisconsin that are doing really cutting edge things, and it doesn't matter whether they're coming from a small town or a big town, that they're doing really excellent work, and they're displaying that work over at the Rotunda today. So you'll get an opportunity to look at that. So this is a showcase that highlights undergraduate research across the system, and it's a platform for outstanding undergraduates. And it, you know, shares the breadth of compelling research experiences across Wisconsin. So as was mentioned, I'm the president of WiSys, and WiSys serves the 11 regional comprehensive campuses across the system. There's about $20 million, $20 to $30 million in research that goes on at these schools, and they're doing some really exciting work. We're very focused on developing young researchers, including students in research work to build experience. And the opportunity for students to be involved in higher education in some cases, that this gives them access to cutting edge equipment. So one of the exciting things about the work that's going on that is not well known is that in these 11 schools across the state of Wisconsin, outside of Madison and Milwaukee, we have tremendous excellence. In 2010, an independent study came out and ranked those schools combined as among small research institutions as number 2 in the country in innovation, impact, productivity. The work that they are doing here in Wisconsin competes with the nation. It's very, very exciting. So one of the marks of that excellence is that there's a council. It's called the National Council on Undergraduate Research, and each year they have a national conference that brings undergraduate students from throughout the country to display their research. And UW-Eau Claire was selected for 2023 to host this conference, which is a big privilege. And just last week, and I don't have it on my slide, UW-La Crosse was received the 2021 Aura Award recognizing undergraduate research excellence. So it's really exciting to see that our schools throughout the state are being recognized for their leadership in this area. So as examples, I wanted to tell you that, you know, the kind of work that's going on in these schools, Dr. Bhattacharya at UW-Whitewater was recognized that there's no uniform system for landslide monitoring. So she set out to make one. And we helped this professor receive grants so that they could conduct their work, and including the work was recognized by the regents, by Dr. Bhattacharya receiving a Regents Scholar Award, which allowed her to continue her work. And what this work does is it allows students to engage in testing and developing a prototype for this exciting new discovery. The experience will help them be efficient in their chosen majors and in their future career. So it's really great to see how these professors engaging in research can bring in their students and give them what's called a high impact practice, or an experience that takes what they're learning in the classroom and gives them a practical application for it. Dr. Liz Glogowski at UW-Eau Claire is another example of this. She was doing research in figuring out how to decrease the cost of architectural coatings. And so she brought a team of students to work on this, and her work has progressed so far that we've been able to apply and receive U.S. patents for this work. So that's really exciting. So Dr. Glogowski has said, and I quote, "I have a whole team of undergraduate researchers, and I could not do what I do without them." So getting these students engaged in their bright minds at an early level allows her to advance this kind of research. So the students do lab work and they collect data. And many are involved in their work over several years throughout their undergraduate experience. And as she said, quote, "It's just great to be able to get to know them individually and see them grow and flourish and enjoy the process." So what is WiSys? So WiSys is an organization that supports these 11 universities, excuse me. We're a not-for-profit organization, and we were created by the University of Wisconsin system as a separate entity to share services, to hire some excellent people so that we can get collaborate with these 11 schools across the state. So we have some programs where we are able to fund research for these faculty members and students where they come up with new ideas. We help them protect the intellectual property, so when they come up with a new invention, when they have a new innovation or idea, we can protect that and then go to the commercial market and see if there's somebody that can take that to market. We've created a suite of student activities and events that will inspire students to innovate and learn how to apply their book knowledge in a practical way and really build a culture of innovation on our campuses. And as we know today, we really need the entrepreneurship of these new generations to help us build back and help us get out of this pandemic. So we're excited about the work that they're doing. We have a program that we sponsor where we get students from each of our campuses to serve as student ambassadors, and these are excellent students that can come forward, learn about intellectual property, and then go back to their campuses and teach other students and go to their departments and teach faculty about opportunities to protect their intellectual property and get engaged and involved in research. Here's a quote from one of our student ambassadors. This is Jacqueline Spory, and she received a $4,500 WiSys ambassador grant to research new type of antimicrobial materials that could enhance sanitation in many applications, including hospitals and food production. And so she took this funding and was able to do work over the summer. And as I mentioned, it's a high impact practice, and you can see what she said about how rewarding that experience was. So, you know, WiSys administers nearly $1 million in research funding annually. The vast majority emphasizes students' jobs and participation. WiSys grants develop faculty ideas in the next generation of researchers and innovators. And you just saw we're going to get another generation that's going to be coming in, hopefully, to some of our schools. And during the review and award process, projects that will involve students and pay for student research jobs score higher than those do not. So we really emphasize getting students engaged in research activities. So you can see Dr. John Obeloden, and he's from UW-Platteville, and he was our 2021 Innovation Champion. And these are faculty members who collaborate with us to get students engaged in innovation, research, and entrepreneurship. And Dr. Obeloden runs our prototyping lab and helps people put together their ideas and create prototypes. And as you can see, he's saying that, you know, these are things that they just cannot learn in class, that these are real experiences that get them ready for graduate school and get them ready for a job. So we've gotten a suite of events that build skills, that encourage undergraduate researchers to consider the importance of their work. All of our WiSys student competitions include mentoring and training, so we're not just asking them to compete in something, it's a whole program to help them get prepared for the competition and then use the competition as a learning experience. So what you're looking at right here is our WiSys Quick Pitch program, and the idea was to get researchers to be able to talk about their research in an accessible way. They have 3 minutes to explain what they're doing to a lay audience, and as we tell them, figure out how to explain this to your grandmother. And and as you can imagine, it's a very difficult task, but when the students go through this, they really learn a lot. And I think that what we're trying to do is build the ability of those that are going through these programs to be able to communicate to the public, to be able to communicate to legislators, to be able to communicate to investors in a way that's very accessible. So you can see here's another quote from one of our student ambassadors, and who was a quick pitch winner 2 years in a row. She's told us that her experience encouraged her to think critically in the way that she writes and presents content, and she was just terrific. And I can tell you, I recall we had a meeting like this with about 250 people. It's our annual conference, and the students did their local event in a classroom with maybe 15 or 20 audience members. And they didn't realize that when they were going to participate in the statewide conference that they were going to have to get up here like I am and talk to 250 people. But I can tell you, they didn't miss a beat. They gave great presentations, and the audience asked questions, and they were just very, and our winner, Julia, was extremely articulate about not only her research, but her ability to answer questions and explain what she was doing. So I wanted to show you, it's a really short video. This was the winner of our prototyping hackathon competition. In some events, students learn how to pitch their ideas, and in others, they learn how to build things from their research. And this short video presentation, was an idea. This is an electric snowboard developed by a mechanical engineering student, Evan Tenney, which allows people to snowboard without the need for a ski hill. And when you think about what's really cool about this is that Evan, when it was only I want to say it's about a 3-week competition. He had to come up with the idea. He went into the lab over the weekend, figured out how to build that battery pack, put it onto his snowboard, and figure out how to make it go. Pretty ingenious, and I think that he did just a terrific job. So a fun fact that this prototyping hackathon event was an event that was created by our student ambassadors, and they came to us and said, hey, we've heard of these hackathons where students write code and over a weekend. What could we create an event where we build something over a weekend? And so that was the genesis of this event, and it's been going on for about 6 years. Cassie Van Hoof, this is a really excellent story. She was our 2019 Innovator of the Year. She developed a product in the lab to combat anxiety in cats and dogs. She created a business out of this and was able to get some funding, and then eventually formed that business, and it was operating for a couple of years. She's now gone on to veterinary school. Oh, I went a little fast there. So I just wanted to kind of show you the progression. What's been really exciting, there's the progression of inventions and ideas across the state, and working with these 11 schools and bringing these things out, and helping these students have an interesting experience at school. Some of those inventions may go somewhere, they may not, but they certainly have learned a lot, and that they're applying that knowledge and going on to doing bigger and better things. And the last thing I wanted to mention, it's the latest program that we've launched. It's called the WiSys Venture Home. We launched it in Eau Claire. We've also created a space in Green Bay, and we have 3 other communities across the state where we're building these venture homes. And the idea is that there's everything under one roof, that if you're an entrepreneur in that community, you walk into the venture home and you can get support and help in your community throughout the state. And it's a soft landing spot for our student entrepreneurs in their local communities so that they can build companies, connect with the university, connect with the resources in the community, but also through WiSys, connect with resources throughout the state. So we're really excited about it. We've had 150 local entrepreneurs connected to statewide resources. We've had 18 companies in Eau Claire, and since the pandemic hit, that have gotten help and gone through our programs, and we're looking to scale this across the state of Wisconsin. So I thank you so much for your attention, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Beneficiary of an undergraduate research project at
Fantastic.
the University of Paris in the 14th century. So please do not forget the arts when you're doing your research and research base. That may not seem important today, but the 13th century is the Black Plague period. And so someday someone's going to be writing about the University of Wisconsin and what happened during this plague. So please don't forget the arts.
Absolutely, and I can thank you for that comment, and I can tell you that we haven't forgotten the arts. What's unique about WiSys is that we support all kinds of research, and we have a wide range of activities. We've had sculptors, we've had other kinds of people in different areas, because our philosophy is that you can innovate in any area. That quick pitch competition that I mentioned includes the arts, and we've had students that have had humanities types of presentations and research where they've come up and learned how to pitch. So, and our grant programs include that as well. So while when you hear the word research, there tends to be an emphasis on the hard sciences, which is true, that we cover the waterfront. Thank you for that.
Hello. Have you measured the economic impact of your program on the state's economy, and how are you funded?
Good questions. Maybe I'll start with the first one. We're funded by the universities that we support, the UW system. We get funding from royalty revenues that are returned to us from the inventions that have been commercialized. We also get sponsorships when we put on events. So there's a variety of sources of funding that support what we do, including the legislature that supports a grant program that supports all of the schools. And I apologize, the first part of your question was economic impact. I think that we're looking at that. We haven't done a study just yet, but we certainly see, as I mentioned with the Venture Home program, we're starting to have an impact on the number of companies that are being formed across the state. We have intellectual property that we are commercializing. I think that the biggest impact that we have are on the students that are being trained in a certain way and that can get out there and be more productive.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. This kind of goes to Herman's question. Do you keep track of your alum so that you know where they are, where they go, what they do, which could be a measure of economic impact?
It's a great question. It's from my experience in higher education, that's a challenging a proposition for universities themselves. But the answer is yes. We're doing our best to keep track through social media and other outlets. When we have students and faculty that participate in our programs, we keep track of what they're doing and where they're going, or we at least try to do that. Certainly we're working with our schools to keep track of that. And as I was introduced and WiSys was introduced, our mission is to support faculty, staff, students, and alumni. So we're certainly looking into how we continue to build our alumni base and help them, again, like our venture home to Wisconsin, build a company and have a soft landing spot.
Hi, do you work with other mentoring organizations like Merlin Mentors, and do you get funding from Kaufman Foundation?
We haven't received funding from Kaufman Foundation, although I'm well aware of them, and we're looking into that. We do work with Merlin Mentors. We've talked to them, and they've actually connected with us and helped us with our venture home program. And we're looking into trying to think about how we continue to expand that, because I think that that's the challenge in smaller communities throughout the state. How do we bring resources to those communities that exist from the larger communities? But yes, we've definitely worked with Merlin Mentors. Thank you. All right. Was there one more question? One last question, and then, or we'll let them have the last word.
As a last question, can you tell us what is that anti-anxiety product for dogs and cats, and how can I get some?
I'm afraid I'm not sure she's still running the company, but you know. And what was interesting about that story, and this is kind of the story of entrepreneurs, and that's, you know, a lot of you know in business, it's like, how do you pivot? Like, how, you know, you start with an idea, and then you maybe have to turn a little bit. And she started with the idea because she has a cat in working on something for cats, but she found that that was a very difficult market, and so it kind of switched to dogs. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, actually, I have a question.
Oh, yeah. You have a question?
I do. Here, you could. I'll just. So I was a Merlin mentee. I was a Merlin mentee. So I received a grant from them, and I wanted to know what's the difference, or is there competitive? Are there competitive resources in the funding that you get for your organization and for theirs? Are you aware of that or not?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So are there resources that you're competing for that they get that you could possibly get in the grants that go to the students?
Oh, no, I don't think that we're competing with Merlin Mentors, so if that's the question, no. I think that we're mostly supported by our universities and the UW system, and that's our main source of funding, and we're here to support our universities, and so that's where we get our major amount of support. Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again. Rotarians, we are adjourned. And if the students could please gather by the stage, we would like to get a group photo.